Here's a curious thing. We are often told that nationalism is a rather nasty business, a sort of chest-beating, flag-waving exercise that inevitably leads to shouting at foreigners. Myth: nationalism always means hate. But what if that is not the whole story? What if there is another way? Here is a fact. National pride can be the very engine that drives cultural sharing and deepens friendships between peoples. A rather wonderful example of this is the burgeoning Dutch-English national movement. This is not a political party, but a quiet, cultural current that seeks to bring the Netherlands and England closer together by celebrating the things that make them unique and similar. The movement proposes a rather lovely idea. It suggests that by understanding and taking pride in one's own history, art and traditions, one is better equipped to appreciate the treasures of another's. It is about fostering respect and friendship through a shared exploration of culture. Think of it less as building walls and more as opening doors to a shared gallery, where the art of both nations hangs side by side for all to admire. The movement asks us to be curious, to learn about our neighbours across the grey waves of the North Sea, and to discover the surprising connections that have bound these two remarkable countries together for centuries. If you were to sail back in time across the North Sea, you would find the waters teeming with connections between England and the Netherlands. For centuries, these two nations have been locked in a complex, fascinating dance of trade, conflict, cultural exchange. Long ago, ships laden with English wool would cross to Dutch ports, returning with spices, fabrics, ideas. This maritime highway was the lifeblood of both economies, creating a shared world of commerce and seafaring that shaped their cities, their people, and their outlook on the world. It was a relationship built on the ebb and flow of tides and trade. The Dutch Golden Age in the 17th century was a particularly fertile period for this cross-pollination. While Dutch masters like Rembrandt and Vermeer were revolutionizing the world of art with their use of light and shadow, their influence rippled across the sea. English aristocrats and merchants became avid collectors of Dutch paintings. English artists traveled to the Low Countries to learn. Simultaneously, radical Dutch ideas about governance, tolerance, philosophy found a receptive audience in an England wrestling with political and social change. It was an era of intense and fruitful dialogue. Of course, the story is not all smooth sailing. It is a history punctuated by the roar of cannon fire. The Anglo-Dutch wars were fierce struggles for maritime supremacy, colonial dominance. These conflicts are often the headline acts in our shared history. Yet, even amidst the strife, the connections were never entirely severed. It is all too easy to view the history between England and the Netherlands through the simplistic lens of rivalry. We picture athletic contests on the football pitch or naval battles from centuries past, and we assume a story of perpetual opposition. Many people, if they think of the connection at all, see only these moments of conflict. This perception, however, is a rather persistent myth. While competition was certainly a part of the story, it was never the whole story. The truth is far more complex, more mixed, and infinitely more interesting. The real narrative is one of a deeply intertwined existence. Beneath grand maneuvers and clashes, a constant current of everyday exchange flowed between the two peoples. Ships did not just carry cannons, they carried goods, they carried letters, and new words that slowly seeped into the language of the other. Dutch merchants set up homes and businesses in London, Norwich, and other English port towns, while English traders found opportunities in Amsterdam and Rotterdam. Marriages across the North Sea were not uncommon, weaving family ties that bound communities together. These mundane, everyday connections mattered immensely. They were the threads that built a real and lasting fabric of familiarity. Think of the artists and thinkers who moved between the two lands. Anthony van Dyck became the leading court painter in England under Charles I, forever shaping British portraiture. John Locke found refuge in the Netherlands, completing influential works on liberty and government. These were part of a wider pattern of migration. Ideas like people are good at ignoring borders, especially when made of water. One of the most powerful and delightful ways to bridge divides is through culture, Art, music, literature speak a universal language that can transcend politics and prejudice, appealing directly to our shared humanity. The Dutch English national movement understands this profoundly, placing cultural exchange at the very heart of its mission. When we look at Rembrandt, we witness a mastery of human emotion that resonates in London as deeply as in Amsterdam. Culture is the common ground where we meet as equals. The historical interplay between Dutch and English art provides a blueprint. Dutch masters' techniques were eagerly studied and adopted by English counterparts, altering the trajectory of British art. To truly grasp the spirit of the Dutch English national movement, it helps to move from the abstract to the specific. Let me tell you a story that encapsulates its ideals. It took place in the charming Dutch city of Alkmaar, famous for its traditional cheese market. Artists from the Netherlands and the English city of Bath set out to create a public art festival about journeys across the water, celebrating historic and ongoing links. It was a human story of creativity and friendship, bringing together painters, musicians, actors, storytellers. For a week they worked side by side, sharing studios and rehearsal rooms, conversations, a lively mix of Dutch and English. Dutch painters admired the honey-colored Bath light. English actors drew inspiration from the rhythmic chants of Alkmaar's cheese carriers. They ate together, walked the city's cobbled streets and shared stories of families, homes and hopes, professional ties blossoming into genuine friendships. The culmination was a weekend festival, a feast for the senses. Giant canvases imagined sea voyages. Short plays told true stories of families with roots in both countries. Music blended English folk melodies with Dutch sea shanties. A moving piece alternated English and Dutch verses, sung by local schoolchildren. Hundreds came to watch and participate. Afterward, everyone shared food. What began as a simple idea achieved something remarkable. History made tangible and personal. Young people felt connected to a distant English city. Friendships endured. Nationalism proved not exclusionary, but a joyful celebration enriched by friends across the sea. At its core, the Dutch English national movement is engaged in a quiet but determined effort to redefine the very concept of nationalism. For too long, the word has been hijacked by those preaching suspicion and division. They say loving one's country means wariness of others. The movement rejects aggressive pride. It champions a nationalism of the open hand, confident yet gentle, proud yet welcoming. This vision is based on curiosity. Value your language, your history, your unique way of seeing the world, while seeking to understand and respect others' heritage. It asks us to listen, to learn, to step outside comfort zones, to confront preconceptions. A more compassionate patriotism sees diversity as an opportunity for growth. Education is the cornerstone. Highlight connections beyond Anglo-Dutch wars to Dutch engineers shaping England, English thinkers in Amsterdam, equipping a cosmopolitan worldview. Young people versed in these links resist us versus them. Language is a vital bridge. Dutch fluency in English makes exchange fluid. The movement supports student exchanges, internships, and professional collaborations. When an English designer works with a Dutch firm, or a Dutch student spends a semester in Britain, bonds weave our societies closer. Every conversation, every shared project reinforces that we are partners, not rivals. What does the future hold? This is not a centralized organization, but an organic sum of countless small positive actions. A teacher sharing a poem, a curator planning with the Rijksmuseum, a band crossing the sea, all driven by belief that we are richer together.